Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Schatz, and I am the doyenne of relationship building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach. Today, you are listening to the Going Solo with Cece show, and I'm so happy to have you guys here with us tonight. We've got a treat for you. We've got a wonderful guest, but before we do that, we got to do our homework. All of our wonderful hosts and guests are right there on the goingsolomedia.com. You'll notice we have a new page at the beginning, like we call it our new lipstick that we're wearing. It's called the News Streaming Network, which stands for Nonstop. Nonstop Entertainment Worldwide Streaming Network. So we're trying to embrace everyone, and we hope that you'll enjoy that. It is still going to be the home of Going Solo and Going Bold and WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. So let's move on to what we've got happening tonight. We are going to be talking about transition. Those of you that have been through a relationship loss or through a new job or having to move or anything like that, anything that's like one of the big things that happens in your life, we have to make this transition. And sometimes it's not so easy to do. Sometimes we get stuck in place and as we move forward. Well, we've got a wonderful guest with us tonight. That's her specialty, helping those get unstuck. She specializes, if I can talk, specializes in guiding individuals through life's transition, whether it be seeking a new path, feeling stuck, or uncertain about the future. And she's here to help. So let's bring her forward. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it is great to have you. Now is it Adeline?
No.
Adele.
Yes.
Adele. I
Just like the singer.
Something so easy, I would mess it up. So Adele Bernard, you are a transition coach, and you really focus on clarity, helping those move through that transition. And you're in Canada, right?
Yes, in Calgary.
That's exciting because we've got a lot of listeners in Canada. So shout out to all of you there, and we appreciate you guys listening. And we're having more and more guests on, more hosts on from Canada. So we really do appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about your journey as to why you decided to get into this type of work helping people.
Well, I'm going to take it back a little bit further because I was actually 3 years old when I was aware that I was different. I could hear and see and feel things that most people couldn't. And then about 25 years ago, I started helping people with their homes. And I couldn't understand why they weren't happy at home. And they were always trying to get on vacation. And, if I could just get on vacation, but they came back to their same stuff. Or even going and saying, okay, I'm going to go for a massage. And then they get home and they're stressed like they never had the massage. And as I, was working with that, I started realizing people are having struggles when they had a baby, and they're like, I should be excited. I'm getting married, but they weren't because they're in the stress of it all. And then I was running into a lot of people like empty nesters or retirement. And I'm like, you can't retire together. And they're like, why? And I said, because that's two people. You haven't seen each other for 40 hours a week, and then all of a sudden you're going to be, together all the time. And then unbeknownst to me, it expanded because the world got dumped on its head. So, and here we are today.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important that we realize in our lives there's many transitions that we have to go through. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're not as easy, and our expectations of what we expect life to be, right? So often we'll meet someone and our expectations of what the relationship should be is not equally their expectation. And so then we have a little bit of trouble, with regards to that. And so it really is based on our really on our mindset as to where we want to be in life, what we want to do in life, how we look at life. And so when we've got this clear picture in our head, but our life is not like that, then we start going through this bit of depression, or we go feeling that, that we're not fulfilled I think that's probably the good word for it, but that we're not fulfilled in life. And so what do we do when we, and that's a big question, $1 million question on what can we do to start, kind of understanding that life isn't always the way we picture it to be.
Well, and I'll bring it back to the very simple step of we're not present in our own bodies. So depression and anxiety can't happen if we're present. So depression is about looking in the past too much, dwelling on what was. Anxiety is like the fear of the unknown, of what's coming, how are we moving forward. But if we just do the simple deep breathing, not from our collarbone up, but actually from our bellies, we will be present in our body, and our body will relax and we'll get clarity. And that's how everything I do is before I work with anybody, is just take a couple breaths. Get present in where you are. Let whatever work or, the fight or, whatever is nagging at you, just let it go. And then you can get perspective. You can get the clarity to move forward.
I like that. I like thinking about, if we just think about what you said, depression, when we think about depression, and we can't always say all of it because some of it's clinical, but a lot of times we get depressed because we are in the past. You're right. We're living in the past. We're not living in the present. Anxiety, sometimes even myself, I get a little keyed up before a show starts or something like that. I get into my head about it, and but the reality is it's just going to flow the way it's going to flow. It isn't going to matter, right? So when I stop and think about that and just let that go, it ends up being just fine. That, the anxiety lifts or whatever, that feeling that I lift. And also something that you had said, and I probably should have touched on this before we start bringing up these things, but you have an intuitive skill, and not everyone has that. So when you said when you knew when you were young that you were different, and I remember my grandmother telling me always that I was different, that I didn't, there was things that I could understand, that I was like an old soul,
Yes.
And she would say that to me. Well, you're, well, how come I understand it? And my other sister was playing or whatever, and I wanted to go hang out with the adults and listen to what they had to say and all this kind of stuff and give them my advice. So I'm on the right channel. But yeah, and so because she always said that I was different. And the other thing is that when you've got someone in your court, right, someone that tells you you're of value, of greatness as you move through your life, it's a tremendous, it's a tremendous thing to be able to have. Also, it could be a burden because, we think about that too. Sometimes that you want to live up to whatever that standard is, but it's good to know that someone does think well of you. And so I believe you must have had that in your life to be able to continue to strive towards releasing the intuition that you feel, allowing that space to grow.
Well, it was very challenging growing up because I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. I didn't have anyone to say what, to understand the feelings or understand the voices or to understand that I should be happy. We're say Disneyland, for example, right? It's a happy place on earth, right? Well, for me, it was brutal because I was picking up on everybody there. I'm trying to have fun as a kid and play and, and have fun at this magical place. And I'm feeling all the tensions of the people I'm walking past right. And so it was confusing. And it wasn't until I got older in my adulthood that I started finding people that understood. And I mean, even to this day, I make the joke of is it a Costco day or not? Because some days I go into Costco and I pick up crazy stuff. But at least now I know how to deal with it. Right? Now I know how to.
Yeah, I don't have that, but I have I just have a sense of knowing sometimes when I'm talking with someone and they tell me about their life, what they're going through, how they're
Mm-hmm.
feeling, I instantly know that how they're feeling, what they're going through, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I'm
and
different.
here's a different, really quick example of I had it in my calendar that we're having the show today. I clicked on it and I'm like, "Where's the link?" I'm like, that's
Oh,
interesting. Well, and I mean, I joke every time Mercury's retrograde because I'm like, okay, never double checked on that one, and so it's like a quick email. Okay, you sent the link. Okay, let's go. Right? I just knew in my body that don't stress over it. Like it was a hiccup. That's fine.
yeah, you're a
Right?
sweetheart.
Where
Well, that's great.
before I would like I've seen people just totally spin out, and you're like, why? Just breathe. It will flow. If it's 2 minutes late, it's okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is what you do and how you do it, and that makes a big difference. So let's talk a little bit about clarity, because I
Mm-hmm.
think when we're making the transition, right? When we're making a transition of anything in our life, whether it, no matter what it is, how small or how big, we have to have clarity
Mm-hmm.
as to, maybe not only where we're going to be going, what we want, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
got to have clarity in that, but sometimes we get a little mucked up with the path of the of going. So we have to start getting some clarity with that. So what would you say to people if they say, okay, I know where I want to go, I know where I want to end up, I just don't know how in the hell I'm going to get there, and I'm stressed out over that because I'm stressed out over the future. So, and of course, you said at the very beginning, the first step is to be present, right,
Mm-hmm.
in where you're at. Maybe some
Mm-hmm.
have a sense of reality. Okay, this is my starting point, right, of
Mm-hmm.
where I am. So, what would be the next step then?
Um, it really depends on each person, right? So I've taken people through the writing of the journals, giving them key statements to work with. We can do the journaling, right? The picture journals and figuring out, okay, so if my destination is, I want to live in the mountains in this cabin and but I'm stuck in the city in this job. It's like, well, what are daily things that you could do to help you get to that, right? And it's like that old diagram that we all grew up with. Like point A is in the bottom and point B is in the top, and you think it's a straight line. Well, no, there's like 500 squiggles going every which way. But
Right.
it's being conscious of having that intention of knowing you want more, you want a different life,
Mhm.
and spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, and just being grateful for all the in because we're all intuitive, right? So, and being grateful for all the I call them the light bulb moments of being shown,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you want to move to this area of the town that you live in, right? Well, go drive there. Go drive down the street and go, oh, that'd be a beautiful house to live in. Well, what's the address? We'll just put it in our journal,
Mhm.
right? Because there's been those people that it's just like, that's my house. And it's like, well, it's not for sale. Knock on the door.
Mhm.
And people move in, right? And
Yeah.
so
It just
it's taking those baby steps that you keep instilling the idea, the intention, and more importantly, what I've learned later in life is having the emotion attached to the intention.
mhm.
Because we all buy into anything, whether it's buying a car, a house, whatever, through our emotions. So if our intentions are saying like, yeah, that you know that place that I'm trying to get to, that destination I'm trying to get to, that makes my heart feel warm, that fills me up, I have joy, I feel love, you're going to get a lot faster than whatever, it's
Yeah.
there, I'll get there when I get there. Right.
I mean, I agree with that. I think that what that does is it creates the reason why. Because
Mm-hmm.
so often we want to do certain things, but we don't really stop for a minute and think as to why we want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And
can we
then
do
what?
the same thing where we're at, or do we need to move 1,000 miles to be able to achieve it? So,
And the why without it, emotion is a word,
mhm. Very
right?
cool.
And
That's
yeah,
very cool. Yeah, I mean it's amazing, but I do like the idea of journaling, or some time of reflection to understand your values, your priorities, as you're thinking about this transition. What about creating a life vision? Have you ever heard of that before? The creating a life vision?
of what you want your life to look like.
Yeah, like you have a life, like you know you feel like you're stuck, right?
Yeah.
Because you're making these transitions that you're going through. Let's say, for instance, it could be someone facing retirement, like you had
Mm-hmm.
mentioned. Okay, now great, we've been working for 40 years or whatever, and now we find ourselves together. So we've envisioned this wonderful life together, and then we realize, it's not. I'm like with a stranger. It's totally different. So then we have to recheck ourselves on our life vision.
Yeah.
What is our life vision, and what do we see in our path? And often I say to individuals when they're dating, it's you're building a relationship. So what is your vision of what that relationship should look like? Are you on the same page of what you want that relationship to be like? And so you start creating this vision, and then you have to make sure that it's a realistic vision, one that you can attain, as you're moving forward in that transition.
Well, and I've said this to clients before of just the simplest thing of, like say you have something you want to talk to your partner with, and it's like, we'll book an appointment. It's like, what do you mean book an appointment? And say, hey,
Book a tour with your partner.
no, yeah, because it's like, well, especially for men, right? They're single focused. We come flying in the door, blah blah blah, and they don't even like they acknowledge that we've come in the door, but they're still doing what they're doing. And then you're standing saying, well, the kids, it's this and this, and they haven't heard a word. And then you get mad at them because they haven't heard it, and they're like, I haven't heard it because you didn't stop to say that I was actually busy. And so I actually said this to one of my clients, and I said, well, how about you say, get his attention. When you have 20 minutes, I have some things to discuss with you. And then they'll say, sure. Can you give me 10 minutes? Sure.
Mhm.
Then they're present. You have 20 minutes with them to hash out all the stuff with the kids, what's going on with work.
Yeah,
Boom.
but they're also
Right?
freaking out because, to a man, when a woman says, "I want to talk to you," he's like, "Oh
No,
no!"
they freak out because you're actually saying, I want your presence.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Because for these clients, he thanked me. It changed their whole entire trajectory of their life, right? And then it became a weekly thing
yeah.
that they would take an hour every week. What's going on with the kids? What's going on with you? What's going on with me? What do the cars need doing? What maintenance in the house does? Like, and they started doing financial planning, and then it was just like, right. So it's waiting. It's I always call it the preventative clarity, because you don't wait for the roof to fall in before you go, was that a drip? Did we should we check what the roof is doing? Right? And it's also preparing you for the fact that you've met this person. You want them in the 3 stages of your life, like the first love, you have your babies, you raise your babies. Now we have our old age and retirement.
Mhm.
Very few people get all 3 stages in one person.
Yeah. Not
And
nowadays.
I truly believe that is because they don't make appointments with each other to keep the relationship going. The kids come into the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
The kids aren't the relationship. The job comes into the relationship. And I think a lot of people have this backwards. They let the outside forces pound and pound and pound at the relationship, that you look at your partner going, who are you? I don't know who you are. Let's move. Like, right?
Yeah,
and it's sad to see.
I think that's important. I know a friend of mine used to call it a checkup. So they down and they talk to each other about various different things and whatever. And so, I think that's very important. When we come back, I'm going to tell you, or actually I'll share with you, a trick, or not a trick, or a tip that, I have done in the past, that it was suggested. I heard somebody say it, and I've actually done it, that seemed to help when you're having those kind of difficult conversations, right? You don't want it to get out of control, but it is something that needs to be said, some things that you need to talk about that maybe you're not really quite so happy about. So I have a little tip for everyone, if they want to stick around, listen to that when we come back from our break. So we have Adele Bernard with us. She's a transition coach. She really focuses on clarity, helping her clients really move through and guide them through life's transition. So we want to thank her so much for being with us. We're going to be right back. So just hang on for just a moment. Welcome back to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You are listening to the Going Solo with Cece show. I am Cece Schatz, the doyenne of relationship building. I'm a dating and a divorce life coach. And all of our information, of course, is right there on goingsolomedia.com. I have a wonderful guest here with me today, Adele Bernard. She's a transitional coach, and she really helps those and guides those through life's transition, whether it be seeking a new path or feeling stuck, uncertain about the future. She is truly there to help them. And you've been a blessing, I know, for many. So before we did the break, we talked a lot about, being present, having conversations, scheduling if we needed to, if you're busy and have a hectic time, just actually schedule a time that you're going to sit down and talk together. And a couple things I was going to mention that I do that I have found to be kind of helpful is, number one, I don't sit separate or in front of. So what I've done whenever I wanted to have like some sort of conversation like that, I sit on the sofa and we sit by side, kind of side by side looking at each other. So we're within range and it's comfortable and it's not, like an argumentative type of way, or where one can kind of be, fiddling with something else or whatever. You're truly looking at each other. The other thing, when I want to talk about something, and this is what I do personally, okay, when I want to talk about something that might be a little bit difficult, that it might be something that I kind of want to get my point across, but I'm not sure how he's going to take it. I actually hold their hand. I think, let's hold hands. And so then we'll hold hands and we talk. It's hard to get mad at somebody when you're holding their hand. And I found that connection, that physical connection with someone, it really does home in, and it keeps you present, in the moment when you want to talk about something that might be difficult, that maybe the other person may not want to hear or whatever, but you're doing it out of, out of a place of your heart. And so you want to make sure you do that. I guess probably the other thing would be choose your words well. Don't don't be pointing the finger at anything, but you're really talking about circumstances or the position you're in, and as you're moving forward. So any other tips or anything else you can share with us?
Well, I just want to comment on what you're saying, because when you're looking at each other, facing each other, holding hands, like having that connection, because I've had it too, that you have two chairs facing each other and your knees are touching, and it's I call it like the vulnerability pose, right? Because if you're getting into that space, that means it's showing your partner up front you're going to be totally raw, totally vulnerable, and you really need them to hear you before they speak. And I just find that it sets up the stage better for that conversation to happen, right? Because you both are there as an intention, right? And I think that's the biggest thing too, is that people's lives have just gotten so busy that like we're called the drive-through society. Like you're not sitting at the table at a family meal anymore. And they wonder why they're disconnected with their kids. And they have no idea, because, well, the kids are eating their McDonald's in the back seat while you're driving with your Starbucks. Well, that's not family time.
Right. Or you're having a lot of, and I know even for myself, I find, them eating in front of the TV set. I'm not sitting down like I used to be. I used to sit down at the table, set the table, and have a proper meal. Didn't even matter what it was, but I would still sit down and be present at when I was eating and having a conversation. So yeah, you're right.
Well, and that's on a whole different rabbit hole, because that's probably why North America is at minimum 30 pounds and more overweight, because we're absent in our eating. You go, oh, well, I ate something, didn't I? And you're going, well, maybe, right? And your body, like when your head doesn't know that your body's eating, it doesn't trigger that you're eating. Because even when you start eating, it takes 20 minutes for your brain to tell your stomach you're eating. So if it only takes you 5 minutes to eat, you're onto 3 different other things before you even realize it.
Yeah. And so that's like practicing awareness, right? So we've been talking about that, being present, practicing awareness on what you do. So if you want to make that transition into losing weight, and I think that's one for me I should pay closer attention to, because I tend to work and eat at the same time. So I'm here at the desk, I'm eating, I'm working, and I don't, like you said, sometimes I think to myself, I think I'm still hungry, and I realize, well, you're hungry because you didn't pay attention to what you ate, right?
Yeah.
So
and then it doesn't even have to be big. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to schedule in 10 minutes in between two clients or 2 shows or whatever, and take that 10 minutes to eat the apple consciously. Take the break, stretch your body while you're eating the apple. You'll be way more satisfied. Yeah. It'll last a lot longer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
I totally agree with that, for sure. So the other one I was thinking about is really, getting support from others, really obtaining that, working on your self-limiting beliefs and things like that, and that's where, of course, a great coach like yourself would come in and help. But, sometimes you need a sounding board. Sometimes you need someone to say to you, hey, maybe we need to look at this differently, that kind of, why are you looking at it like that? That's, maybe one way. But yeah, so there's various different things, but you need to support as you move forward in your life and during those transitions of life, especially if they're really a difficult one. If you're finding them to be difficult, you need to, don't you agree, to reach out and get someone that can maybe help walk you through it.
Well, and I think it's also too, like, the reaching out to, say, a coach or somebody, is to leave your friends as friends, right? Like, yes, they're there to support you and love you, and they'll help you in every way they can, but the lines get blurred. And you don't need that, like, especially in a divorce, like the person loves both of you. They don't want to take sides.
Right.
Right. And I think, like back in the 90s or whatever, when everyone was going to therapists, and it's like, oh, it's taboo, you can't say you go to a therapist. Well, now everyone's coaches. Like, it doesn't matter. We all need that person that's outside of our circle to go, I just got to vent, or I just got to talk, like, right. And because you want to keep the sanctuary clean.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because I've seen so many people, it's like, but all they do is talk down. And I'm like, cut them off. And they're like, well, I can't. They're my friend. I go, you're enabling them to keep in that state.
Right.
And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm just here to listen. I go, but you're there to listen, but you're not helping them. Stop listening.
Mm-hmm.
It's the tough love of like, okay, you got 5 minutes. Spew, right? Get your frustration out, whatever. Okay, that's done. It's over. You don't talk about it. Move on.
Right. And sometimes too, you do need to hear a little tough love. And that's
Yeah.
hard to do when it's from somebody that you care about,
Yeah.
because it won't resonate with you. You'll think, oh, well, they're, whatever. But if you get it from someone that that you would look up to, that this is their profession, and they're pointing out a few things that makes you stop and think, maybe I do need to look at this a little closer. So yeah.
Well, as a coach, right? Like, you do the coaching session, and if you don't clear your energy, you're stuck in their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So you're useless to anyone you talk to the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I actually did a course one time with someone. It was a prayer counseling course. And because I would have trouble. I mean, when I did my divorce stuff, I would just feel so heavy. My chest would always feel so heavy all the time. And I didn't know how to quite release that. So I did this course. A very good friend of mine was doing it, and it helped me tremendously. I don't feel that anymore. I'm able to release it completely. So I don't have that problem. But again, like, I can walk in a room and know, that there's people there, and they start gravitating. So yeah, it starts happening. So yeah, so I totally get that. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and we touched on this at the very beginning. We talked about I'm trying to make sure I'll just get my notes here. Oh, embrace the uncertainty. So I had some notes that I had made, because I thought, well, maybe we're going to come. So I was going, okay, we got to get my act together. But yeah, because I don't want to be off the fly. But so to embrace the uncertainty, and I think that happens a lot of us when we're making, and we touched on that, the start at the beginning of not knowing what, we've got this vision in mind, but we don't really know that that's really what we want, or what it's going to end up being. And so we get this uncertainty feeling, that we get lost in that. And then, like you said, it causes anxiety and all of this kind of thing. So is there something we can do to keep our core a bit grounded, to keep us grounded as we make these transitions in life, or as we're doing, like, even goal setting and things like that for ourselves? Is there something we can do to kind of not make the picture so big, maybe take little steps as we move forward in life?
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the main point of getting through a transition is accepting that you have to make a choice. It doesn't mean it's a choice for your life. It means make a choice right now. That means you can make a choice in 5 minutes. That means you can make another choice in 10 minutes. That means you can make a choice in 30 seconds. Or that means you make a choice in 30 days. But it's the constant renewal of, I'm choosing A. I'm choosing B. And so in those choices, however big or small, it's making yourself realize that you're taking a step every minute of every day, winning the game. Some might be steps backwards, but it's not a loss. You're getting clarity, you're getting regrouped, so you can have discernment on your next decision. When people come and they say, well, I'm in my house in A, but I want to be in my house in B. And it's like, well, there's a lot of decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we're putting it up on the market. We've got to get movers. We got to change the electricity. We got to put the power, like all those things. One decision at a time. Have your to-do list, check it off. And this even works with relationships. So like, retirement or whatever, like just write down your list. What do we want it to look like? What do we want it to feel like? And what steps are we taking every day to fulfill this intention? And you're going to have different ones than your partner, right? Because you might have like to tie up things in your job or in your career that he has nothing to do with, or she or whoever, right? Your partner, right? He has stuff that you have no idea what he has to do. But the common goal is in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we're going to be coming together in these decisions so we can have the next phase of our life. Right? And it cracks me up by when I see couples that are new together and they're like, oh, I love to travel. I love to do this and this. And then their partner is like, I don't go on planes. I'm a homebody. I'm like, didn't you think you should have thought about that before you tied the knot? Right? Because the biggest mistake of choice is we do not change people.
Right. But here's the thing is you can still continue to live your life to the fullest. And so if you care for your partner, then you're going to help them to live their life to the fullest as you're going to help your partner.
I know, but are you going to go fly to the beach and be by yourself when your partner wants to stay home?
Well, that's why I have a going solo travelers group.
Right? And so, there's lots of couples that are doing that, right?
We have ladies in there that are married and their husbands don't want to travel, but they want to hang out and have a good time. And, then we have guys in there that don't really want to travel by themselves either. They'd like to travel with some ladies. And, why, I have no idea, because I think we drive the men crazy when they do travel with us, but they do. So it's, they just don't want to be by themselves and they want to have a different flavor to it. So it's just kind of what you're looking for. And I know that, I'm really all about building relationships. I mean, that's really who I am, what I'm about. And I realize that, we have to be very clear, because I'm always speaking to the singles group here, but we have to be very clear on, who we are and our core and our values and things like that. And we have to honor ourselves. And so when we get into a relationship that looks like it's not going down that path, that transition, we're not coming together like that. You can love very deeply and very, very honestly and very wholly to someone. But does that life look like that's what you want? Is that partner able to give that to you? And if not, you've got to sit down and talk about it and make decisions, right, as you're moving forward.
And more importantly, if you are, as you say, going solo, right, and you keep working on you, and as you raise your vibrations and you raise your, like, I know exactly what I want, I'm not settling for anything less, and like that's the past, and blah, blah. Guess what? They're doing their work. And once they get their work done and you get your work done, there's nothing on this world that will stop you from being together. But we're not together because we haven't done our work.
Right.
We can't meet that match until the work is done. Right?
Right.
So, it's funny.
No, it's very good advice. And so those out there that are looking and trying to build a relationship with someone, just keep yourself centered. Just keep your core there. Know your values. Know what's important to you, and continue to build yourself and strive yourself. Because here's the reality: is whoever that was that partner, that potential partner that's out there, he's attracted to you for you, right?
Yeah.
He was attracted to you at the very beginning for you, and
Yeah.
so you might have got a hiccup or a bump in the road or whatever as you're traveling through. But the reality is if you're really truly meant to be together, you will be. But the
Hmm.
most important thing is that each of you need to choose yourself. You need to choose you and be the
Yeah.
best person that you can be and continue to raise your
Yeah.
vibration.
And
So,
know what your non-negotiables are,
hmm hmm
right? Don't wait till you're 2 years into the relationship and go, oh, that's a non-negotiable. No. What? What are you talking about? Like, you know?
yeah, well, okay, I've got the t-shirt.
No, maybe we're all learning, right? Like, yeah.
I know. I'm like one of those people,
And
but yeah.
it's funny because I had a girlfriend back in high school that like, and she used to joke about like knowing this kid in grade 2 and, oh, he's gonna marry me, man, right? They ended up getting married, they ended up re-meeting each other in their 30s and got married. And he goes, I told her in grade 2, she didn't believe me.
hmm I've heard that time and time again, where
Yeah.
yeah, someone just recently that they were high school sweethearts and now they're getting married. Oh, I
Oh,
know.
I know tons of
Yeah,
high school sweethearts. Like
I,
most of my high school are still married. It's really quite funny. But
yeah. Well,
you know.
I'm not going to do that. I already married him once. I'm not doing him again. I divorced him. I'm not doing it again. So
Yeah.
anyhow, we'll move on with that one.
Yeah, but then it comes back to booking the appointment so you grow together,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Like, okay, the the oil in the car needs changing.
hmm
It's not going to change if we don't tell each other, like, who's taking the car in, right?
Right. Well, we're driving that road separately.
Yeah, but maybe it didn't
I
have
know
to,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
you know,
You're a sweetheart. You're
yeah.
so great. I tell you what, I love you. I think you're wonderful. Anyone that's looking to have some clarity in their life, please reach out. And her phone number is 1-587-434-0399. And that's MST time. She's in Canada. So 1-587-434-0399. You can go to her website, which is Transition Clarity. That's TRANSITION, Clarity, CALITY.com.
Oh,
And then
that's so,
her email. Did I spell it wrong?
yeah,
Yeah, I did. I left out the L.
yeah.
CL. So you guys know that. CL. So it's Transition Clarity. I go to spell it and I can see that I spell it wrong at gmail.com. We're really doing good today. But again, we want to make sure that you guys know that she is here to help you and she knows her stuff. You could tell. We put her on the hot seat tonight and she came through with flying colors. So you're wonderful. So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on the show. So again, we have Adele Bernard. You can reach her on LinkedIn. She's on LinkedIn, and she's right there. Just message her or go on her website, which is transitionclarity.com. And also, if you guys want to reach me, I love to get your emails. GoingSoloNetwork@gmail.com. I love them. I love them. I read them myself. I answer them. So no one else does it but me. And thank you so much when you do send them to me. I love them so much. All right, everyone. You're listening to Going Solo with Cece. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much with my wonderful guest here, Adele Bernard. And I hope that you'll reach out to her and let her know that you saw her here on the show. So bye for now.
Thank you.